Good morning, friends. Good morning, Lou.
Good
I
morning.
am
How are we doing today, Doctor?
good. So, we are going to talk about something very different today. The title, it still says the Gita, Memoirs of a
Get
Psychiatrist,
that title up there for you. Here we go.
but it should say Gita Field Trip, Krishna, Jesus, the Gnostic Gospel. So, friends, this is a little different from what we are used to talking about usually. And I think we have Lou to thank for this. Last time, in our last episode, we talked about how Skand, who is Shiva and Parvati's son,
Yeah.
went to Scandinavia. And if you haven't listened to that episode, either listen to the one before this or the one after this, because I'm going to be talking more at length about that. But what Lou said was that he found that quite interesting.
I
And
had
so,
no idea. I had no idea of the influence on India and this culture on Europe, especially Northern Europe and Scandinavia. I had no idea. So, yeah, I did find it fascinating because I had no inkling that there was that type of influence up there.
so friends, I thought that this would probably not only for my friend Lou, and Lou has become quite close to me since all these episodes. I've gotten very fond of him and for his sake. But also, I figured that there were probably lots more people who wanted to know this. And for those people, I would probably give you another area of interest of mine, which is the spread of the culture out of India into other parts. So I have I have many years in my life, and I've been filling them with these kind of interesting things. So I have lots of these on my plate, and I love to share them. So today, without further ado, what we're going to be talking about shortly is Krishna and Jesus and the similarities. So I want to show you this book. It says 346 striking analogies between Christ and Krishna,
Oh, wow.
written by Kersey and Graves. Kersey Graves, who was an American who wrote this book, I think maybe 100 years ago. Of course, he was really spoken badly about in the American press by
Yeah.
all of the Christians who didn't want to hear any of this. And I'm not saying this to denigrate anything. I'm just telling you facts as they are for you because, like me, I'm hoping that you find it interesting. Not for any other purpose, but to say, look at the similarities between Krishna and Christ. Look at the similarities between Christianity and Hinduism. So let's talk about the birth of Christ. Krishna, when he was to be born, his mother was her name was Devaki, and his father, his natural father, was named Vasudeva. Just like Jesus Christ, Krishna had natural parents and then adoptive parents. So Devaki was the sister of a king who was very powerful, but at the same time very afraid of his position being usurped by somebody else. Devaki's brother, the king, was evil, and his name was Kamsa, Kamsa, Kamsa. Kamsa is the way it's spelled, but it's pronounced Kams. So during the wedding of Devaki and Vasudeva, Kamsa's sister and future brother-in-law, an astrologer, a famous person, like a Magi, is that what you say, Lou? Magi?
A famous person?
No, who came to see Jesus? Was it the
Oh,
three
yeah. I think it's a soft G, Magi, but I'm not sure.
Magi, whatever?
Yeah.
So somebody like that went up to the evil king Kausa and said, "Listen, Devaki and Vasudeva are going to have children, and the eighth child is going to be the death of you. He's going to kill you."
Oh,
And Devki's brother Kausa absolutely believed in this, and he said to his guards, "Arrest Devki and her husband and put them in jail, imprison them." But jail was not like we know it, like with bars and stuff. They could actually have an apartment there, a bed, and
yeah.
home like that. So each time Devki gave birth to a child, Kausa said, "Okay, you had a child, now the child will be killed." And I think he did it by having the guards bash the child on the head on the floor, a horrible way.
Hmm.
but I think this is and the only reason I say that is because I heard something about King Herod doing the same with Jesus's parents. I'm not sure exactly of those details, but the book talks about it.
Hmm.
You've heard of King Herod, right,
Yes.
Luke? So
Yeah.
King Herod was also told by an astrologer that his that there was going to be a child born, and no, actually, sorry, the Magi came to the palace and said, "We want to know. We followed these stars that a infant was born somewhere, and he is going to be the future savior of
Yeah.
this world."
Hmm.
And another astrologer told him, "This future savior is going to be the death of you, my king." And King Herod said immediately, "Where is that child?" And this Maggie said, "It was born yesterday, and we don't know where, but it's under these bright stars." And immediately Herod sent out people to say, "Find him and kill him," who
Mm.
was then Jesus. And when Jesus' parents heard about this, they quickly gave the child to somebody else and as foster parents. And then he was in a manger in a farm. And of course, the guards didn't find him. Are you there, Grace?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
So similarly, six of these children of Devaki and Vasudeva were killed. The seventh one was Krishna's older brother, Balaram. They let him survive because he wasn't the eighth one, or somehow magic. No, sorry, he was exchanged with another, with Devki's sister, and he was then brought up in Devki's sister's womb, and he survived. Krishna, when he was born, all the stars lit up. There was massive, it was dark, and lights went on all over the sky. But miraculously, the guards around Vasudev's and Devaki's jail went into a deep coma, and the doors sprung open. Devaki and Vasudev left with their infant child, crossed a river similar to Christ, went to this farm and gave the child to Nanda and a foster father and foster mother. And that's where Krishna was then brought up, not by Devaki and Vasudev. So Krishna and Christ had that in similarity. Then there's lots of other things. Krishna was the protector of cows, and therefore he was called a Gopala. Go is for the Sanskrit word for cow, cow,
Yep.
protector of cows. And he also had a consort known as Radha. So a consort is like a wife, a girlfriend, a constant companion. So his consort was named Radha.
Hmm.
And he also had apparently 16 other wives. Krishna did. And
Hmm.
that's symbolic. It means that people who really devote their lives to Krishna were considered his wife. Why this is important is also so that's about Krishna and Jesus. And there's a lot of other similarities. If you're interested, friends, look up this book by Kersey, Kersey Graves, and he talks about 346 striking analogies between Christ and Krishna. But if you also, while you're looking this up, you may want to see that Krishna and Christ both had a father who was a carpenter, both had an adopted father who was on earth, both were of royal descent because Krishna's mother was the sister of the king. The incumbent ruler, both Kamsa as well as King Herod, was out to kill infants and actually had an infantile massacre around that time. And there was a bloody decree by the king in each case for the destruction of these infants. The parents flee in both cases. Krishna was born in Mathura, India,
Hmm.
and Jesus was born in Muturia, Muturea.
No.
Both were fosters, both fasted, both were actually, Jesus was the king or head of the Yadu tribe, and he could fast for 40 days. Anybody to become the chief of this tribe had to be fasting for 40 days. Both performed miracles, and the first miracle of both was the cure of a leper.
Hmm.
Now, I found this extremely fascinating. I found this very, very fascinating to say, look at these similarities. Even the name, Christ and Krishna,
Yeah.
both sound similar. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means, why those similarities mean. But there's other things that you, my friends, Lou, you might find very, very interesting.
Okay.
In many of these countries that the soldiers after the Mahabharata war finished, left and went to, Krishna